Hello everyone, my name is David, and today I'm sharing a supernatural experience with you all. So let's dive into today's story. Today's first story is about a boy named Raj Kaushik. In every culture, after a person dies, they either have a proper funeral or a proper last rites ceremony. However, many times due to various reasons, this cannot happen, and it is said that the soul of the person whose proper funeral cannot be held keeps wandering. Gradually, all their past memories vanish, their thoughts vanish, and only their soul remains, which keeps wandering in our world and gets trapped in our world. According to a lot of stories, the more time spirits spend in our world, the more their power increases. This is the reason you might have heard stories before that ghosts attack people. This is the reason why these evil spirits that exist around us actually harm us. And today's story is also somewhat similar, which comes to us from Bhatinda, Punjab, which is in India. My town is just a short distance from Bhatinda, and it is said that many people died here in 1947 who didn't know what was happening in Punjab at that time. Basically, at that time, there were fights and riots going on in Punjab among 3 release groups, and India's partition was also starting. There was fighting everywhere, in which thousands of people lost their lives, and there was also an attack on the train of refugees going from India, in which almost all the people who were sitting in train were killed. That's why it is said that the souls of those people still wander in our town. I am telling you in today's story, which is about 19 to 20 years ago from now. At that time, I would have been around 5 or 6 years old. At that time, we had a banquet hall that was built on the national highway. My father used to manage it entirely, and on the days when there was no function, my father would come home by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. But whenever there was a function or booking, he would come home quite late at night. So in such days, he would often come home at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night, and it would take about 20 or 25 minutes to come from the hotel to our house. That's why my father always used to come and go by bike. Our home wasn't far from the hotel, but there was a canal on the way, with a main road on one side and a dirt road on the other, running alongside the fields. During the day, people often worked in their fields there, but at night, no one was on that road because it was outside the village, with no houses or streetlights. So most people avoided going there at night. However, at night, there were many trucks and large vehicles on the main road, so my dad thought it safer to come home through the dirt road if he was late to avoid accidents. Some of the staff at our hotel, like waiters, cooks, and some managers, were from states outside Punjab. They stayed there regularly and had been working at our hotel for quite some time. However, their behavior had changed slightly in the last few days. One day, one of them told my dad that there were some strange things happening at the hotel at night, which had scared him a lot. They used to stay in Nepal and believed a lot in things like paranormal activities. One of the staff members told my dad that after they go to sleep at night, they hear the sound of utensils falling from the kitchen suddenly. The door to the stairs, which leads to the terrace of our hotel, has a lock that sometimes opens. One of our staff members told us that around 1 or 2 in the night, he hears the sound of someone running on the stairs, followed by a sound as if someone is trying to slowly open the door latch. My dad didn't believe them much. He thought they were making up excuses to avoid work. But my dad was also afraid that someone might be trying to steal in the hotel. So he decided that they would stay in the hotel one night with their worker and see if these people are telling the truth or lying. At night, my father stayed in one of the staff rooms, and he asked all the staff to sleep in one place so that none of them would do all this on their own after completing their work. All staff members and my father were ready to sleep around 11 or 12 at night, and by 1 a.m., everyone had fallen asleep. Everything was fine in the hotel for some time. No disturbance was there. But suddenly, my father heard someone running on the stairs, and he opened his eyes. He quickly got up and looked at all the staff members, but everyone was still asleep. He was thinking, if everyone is here, then who is upstairs on the stairs? Just then, he heard the sound of the terrace gate opening. Without thinking, my father ran straight towards the stairs, and when he reached there, the terrace gate was open. He ran upstairs, but there was no one there. It was dark all around and there was a strange calmness. There was no sound coming from anywhere. Suddenly, my father felt the presence of someone on the terrace, something that was not human or animal. Perhaps it was a strange negative energy. My father, standing where he was, found it difficult to move from that place. We belong to a Hindu family and my father believes a lot in worship. It is said that in such situations one should remember Lord Hanuman. Therefore, he also started reciting the Hanuman Chalisa loudly at that time, until he felt a little better, after which he immediately ran downstairs. After that, he tried very hard to sleep, but he could not sleep. He kept reading the Hanuman Chalisa all night and waited for the morning. The next day, he told the whole thing to everyone and immediately decided to conduct a peace prayer in the hotel. We called a priest and conducted a big puja in the hotel, after which the hotel started improving, and it felt like everything was getting better. But now, my dad was feeling strange things outside the hotel too. He felt like someone was around him, watching him. He also started feeling a little unwell. One day, as my dad was returning home from the hotel after finishing his work, it was around 12 at night. He was taking the same rough road that ran parallel to the main road, near the canal. As always, there was no one on that road, and it was completely dark, with only the headlight of my dad's bike providing a little light. Maybe after walking some distance, as soon as he took a turn, he felt like there was a lady standing on the roadside a little ahead, wearing a red suit, signaling for a lift. At first, he felt a little uneasy because it was a village area, and many people came here to steal under the pretext of asking for a lift. But then he thought maybe this lady is from the nearby village and needs a lift to her home. Thinking this, he slowed down his bike and turned towards where the lady was standing. But as soon as he stopped his bike there was no one there. Neither was there anyone else nor the lady. She was there one moment, and the next moment she vanished into the air above the crop in the field opposite the road. She was smiling at my dad. Seeing this, my dad, without thinking, started his bike and left from there. He started driving the bike very fast, but even after going quite far, he could hear the laughter of that lady clearly, as if she was still riding with the bike. Then he felt like someone else had sat behind his bike. He ignored all these things and never looked back. He just kept moving forward. Suddenly, it felt like someone had placed a hand on their shoulder and their whole body went cold. He started reciting the Hanuman Chalisa again and just kept moving forward. On the way back home, there was a Hanuman temple in the middle. Dad started seeing that temple now, and upon seeing it, he mustered the courage to stop and recite the Hanuman Chalisa. He parked the bike in front of the temple and went inside. He saw Lord Hanuman, and after staying there for a while, when he felt okay, he started the bike again and came home. I still remember when Dad reached home. His whole body was cold, but he was completely soaked in sweat. It felt like someone had poured water on him, and he was shaking so much that we all got very scared. He had a very high fever for the next 3 to 4 days, and his health deteriorated a lot. After that, we performed a worship at home, and with that worship, Dad's health improved, and everything else started returning to normal. But after this incident, he was so scared that he closed down his hotel. It was said about our hotel that there is a spirit there that, if it makes someone its prey, it takes the form of a woman, and if it makes another woman its prey, it takes the form of a man. That place is still haunted, and many people say that when they pass by that place, they have experienced something similar. Today, a temple has been built there after performing a puja, but what happened to my dad that night, he still cannot forget it. It is said that the result of bad deeds is always bad, and we should never do anything bad to anyone because we may have to bear its consequences sooner or later. And based on this, our next story comes to us from Assam, India, where a soul had revealed the truth of its death in front of everyone. This incident is from December 2013, when I was a student, and due to my college being in Narengi, I was living there on rent at that time. I used to live alone, and most of my days were spent in college. One day, I got back from college at around 4 o'clock in the evening. It was the time of winters, so it had started getting dark outside. After coming back from college, I was a little tired, so I thought of resting for a while, and as I was thinking, I fell asleep. However, in my sleep, it felt like someone was waking me up. I was in such a deep sleep that I couldn't even open my eyes. But still, it felt like someone was shaking me. I was so scared that I sat up straight. I was sweating a lot, and my whole room was getting dark. I didn't believe in paranormal activities, but I was feeling something strange. I didn't pay much attention to it, turned on the room lights, and went outside. I thought of telling all this to my landlord once, but then I considered it my illusion and ignored it. But since that day, it kept increasing. Strange noises started coming from the room, sometimes someone crying, sometimes someone screaming. I started waking up for no reason at night, and now I was feeling very scared. When all this became too much, I told my family about all these things, that I was feeling a negative energy around me. My family believed in paranormal activities, so after listening to everything, they got worried and immediately asked me to leave the room. But I had shifted here just 11 days ago and had paid rent for the whole month in advance, so I decided to shift after this month completes. By then, I talked to my friends, and 2 friends from my college were ready to stay with me. They shifted their belongings to my room that day, and while we were doing all this, it became night. We were very tired, and we were also feeling hungry, so we made chicken curry for dinner and left it on the gas to cook for a while, and went outside to rest. One of my friends was a little scared after coming out of the kitchen. He said he felt like there was someone else in the kitchen. He was telling us this when suddenly, the tape recorder placed in our room turned on by itself. We all started getting a little scared, but gathering courage, we turned off the tape recorder. My friend was so scared that he wasn't even ready to go to the kitchen. So we asked him to sit outside, but when we went to the kitchen, some pieces of our chicken curry were half eaten and its bones were scattered around. Seeing this, my friend grabbed me and immediately said, "Let's leave from here. I don't want to stay in the kitchen anymore." My other friend tried to explain to him, but his condition was so bad that he went back to his house from there. In the room, there were only me and my one friend. We went to our landlord and told him everything that had happened with us, but he didn't believe us. He said that after living here for so many years, he had never felt anything like this. He thought we were just trying to disturb him. When he didn't listen to us, we thought maybe a cat or some animal had come into our room, eaten the chicken pieces, and left. We went back to our room. After returning to the room, we couldn't sleep because of all these things, so we sat down to study. Everything was fine for a while. We were both studying, and suddenly my friend stopped writing and started looking at me. Without saying anything, he started staring at me with his eyes wide open. His face had turned completely white, as if he would faint any moment. He gestured behind me, indicating that there was a black shadow standing behind me, slowly moving towards me. When I looked back, I felt as if a gust of wind had passed behind me. It was completely dark in one corner of the room, and it seemed as if someone was standing there looking at us. Suddenly, we heard someone laughing in the room, and we couldn't understand what to do. We knew that our landlord wouldn't believe us or help us, so we spent the night somehow. The next day, when the landlord wasn't home, we called a tantric to our room. As soon as the tantric entered the room, he told us about the presence of a spirit and asked us to perform a puja. As soon as the puja started, it felt like someone was standing there again. But this time, we could clearly see the shadow of a girl standing there, angry. The tantric started chanting his mantra and began screaming loudly at the shadow in the corner. Then a voice came from there saying, "I won't spare her." The tantric asked what she wanted, to which she replied that she was from Guwahati, India, and had come to study in Nalbari. She had rented a room here, but the landlord would often come up with excuses to enter her room and had even suggested reducing her rent by half if she agreed to spend a night with him. Upon hearing this, she immediately decided to leave the room. However, as soon as the landlord found out, he angrily came to her room and tried to stop her. When she didn't comply, the landlord started choking her. She tried hard to save herself, but couldn't. Her family filed a case against the landlord, but due to lack of evidence, they lost the case. And now she just wants justice. We all stood there listening to her, unable to believe what we were seeing and hearing. It all felt like a dream. After hearing her story, the tantric promised to help her get justice and performed a puja to cleanse the room of any negativity. We had recorded a video of everything happening in the room. After the puja, we caught the landlord and took him to the police station. It was a bit difficult for the police to believe all this, but we still wanted to try. At the police station, we showed them the video, and from there, we found out that the landlord also had a criminal record. He had been to jail before in a murder case. That's why the police immediately arrested him. That day, whatever happened to me and my friends, it would be difficult for anyone to believe, but I was happy that justice was served to that soul. If I had shifted from this room earlier, perhaps their soul would never have found peace, and it could have happened that the same thing would have happened with someone else in the future. I told my family everything that happened to me, and after that I shifted to my friend's room. My friend and I started living together. Even today, when I think about this, I feel that there are so many people in the world who commit crimes and get away with it, with nothing happening to them, and they continue to roam freely. But this incident taught me one thing, that no one can escape after doing wrong. So how did you like the stories? Do let me know in the comments section and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.